Hi everyone. I'm going to show you how to do this first project that I'm having you do in Photoshop. I'm going to walk you through it. Look, I have some music on in the background. It is Explosions in the Sky. I like this band. It's considered ambient music. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but I thought it might be a little nice to have something in the background. Okay, so I'm asking you to take some images of yourselves. I haven't sent them to you yet, but look how cool they are. Yeah, look. Look, Paige. Nice. Okay, so what you're going to do is you are going to take your image. I've already put them in black and white. And I was thinking about using this one. No. Of me, you can see it's a pretty horrible resolution image. It was a scan that I took when I was at my mom's house. I'm not going to use it, but look at me. That's me. I was about 3 years old, staring at my angel chimes. I think on Christmas Eve. I'm not going to use that one. Instead, I'm going to use this similarly ridiculous image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it in Photoshop. So, I'm going to go Photoshop, File, Open, and I'm going to browse to it. Okay. This is a picture that I took when I was in Amsterdam using my fabulous RetroCam application on my phone. You see that grid that's showing? I'm going to turn that off like so. That grid is an extra. I'm going to just unclick that, and guess what? Explosions in the Sky is getting on my nerves, so I'm going to stop that right now. Stop it. Okay. So I turned that grid off. Somehow, I must have set it as a default because it happens with every single image that I open. So, this is a pretty big image. You can see that I'm looking at 25% of the full image size. 25%. Just to go over what we looked at today in class, image size. If I just look at pixels, 2,000 by almost 3,000. 13 megs. Pretty big. First thing that I'm going to do, and this isn't really necessary, but I am going to go and change this into a grayscale image. Discard color information. Well, sure. Okay. If you would want to, and maybe I'll just do that for the heck of it, you could go and adjust the brightness and contrast of your image. Whoa. Oh, look how tired I look. Man. Okay. Brighter, more contrasty. A little fun fact is that I never did get over jet lag when I was in Amsterdam. It was horrible. But that's the way it goes, and okay, whatever, fine. Okay, yeah, never got over jet lag, and it was bright, light out until 11 p.m. So that's that. Now, we were talking about layers today, but where are they? Well, that sucks. It didn't work. So for the past almost 3 hours, I have been playing with that. So that really sucks. Beyond layers. Actually, layers don't suck. So, that is just a little aside. And anyway, well, layers. Yeah, where are layers? You know, when I first was learning about Photoshop, I thought, oh, layers. Right, they're going to be right here. Layers. Show the layers. No, that's not where they are. Layers are under Window. This seems very like an unlikely place for layers to be, but that's where they are. Notice, too, that, you know, for all of these things, you know, you'll see F7 will be a shortcut keystroke, or in this case, it's a function key that you could hit to show layers or unshow layers, like so. Okay, so layers are here. Notice that when you open an image in Photoshop, it automatically goes into the background. You can do, if you want to leave it in the background, you can do that. Sometimes what I do is I will duplicate a layer, that image layer, so you can have a background copy just in case. And then, so for our purposes, what you're going to need to do now is you're going to need to make a new layer that you're going to draw on. New layer. Okay. So, I don't know if there's a zoom in function on. Oh, maybe I can do it this way. Check this out. Oh yeah. So okay. So just like in ArtRage, you know, the eyeball signifies that you're able to see this layer. That checkerboard is the same thing in ArtRage. That when you're choosing your supposed medium that you're painting on, I think the checkerboard indicates like some kind of a vellum or something that's transparent. So when you have the checkerboard on a layer, that means that layer is transparent. The other thing that you want to make sure of, and it's a mistake that I still make when I'm using Photoshop, is I will try to do something on a layer that I'm actually not working on. So the way that you know that the layer that you're working on a particular layer is that it is blue. So if you're working on a layer, it has to have the eyeball showing, and it also has to be blue to be seen. So I think what I'll do to start drawing on drawing my picture is I'm going to turn off this, well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I'll turn off that background just to simplify. And I think I will also lower this opacity a little bit. Actually, I think what I'll do too is I'm going to make another layer in between just to play around with the pen tool or the paintbrush. And what I just did here is I created this second layer. Notice too that you can, and this is similar to the way it worked in ArtRage, you can move these layers around. Okay, so I'm going to call this one, doop, come on. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that. I'll call this the final layer. I'm going to call this layer the play layer, and I'm going to turn that off just to be very, professional about it. Oops. Okay, so we're in grayscale. I'm going to make sure that oops. Okay, so when you hover over any of the tools with your cursor, you'll be able to see what each tool is. So this indicates the foreground color, this indicates the background color, and you can switch them like so. So now my foreground color, or in other words, the color that I will use for my paintbrush tool is black. But what I want to do here is for my play layer, I'm going to just dump white using the paint bucket tool into this layer here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch the foreground color back to black, click on my paintbrush tool, and then play around with the different settings. And I'm going to use my tablet and my pen to just see the different kinds of marks I can make. So some things that you're going to want to notice is that with all of your tools, you're going to have a series of adjustments that you can make. So I just always like to play with the different settings just to see what the effects are, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. But like, with your paintbrush, something like this is going to give you more of an airbrushed effect. Okay, and this really hard brush, even though you can still adjust the flow, like what is actually coming out of the brush here, this is going to be a much softer sort of application. And then this is new, I think, in CS5 or CS4. You have different options here. Now, I have actually, these are brushes that we'll talk about later, but these are brushes that I've actually that I've imported from a website. We'll talk about that next week, but this is not going to be really all that it's not really going to work for what you're doing. So oops, I left a couple leaves there, but these are they're more like stamps. Okay, so but we'll talk about that later. They're super fun and they're really great for graphic design. Now, isn't that neat? So I'm gonna open up my history window so you can see how you can do that. I'm gonna back that right up. Oops, there we go. And I'm gonna just put it on a regular paintbrush. I'm gonna use something like that. I'm gonna make it much smaller, and I'm going to leave the opacity like so, and I'm going to put the flow down to about 52, and then just play around. I'm going to encourage you guys to do this, at least for people who haven't done a whole lot in Photoshop, so that you can see the kind of lines that you can get. So what I'm doing is I'm just playing with pressing on the tablet more or less to see, so that just to show you that you can really get a really wide variety of types of lines. Whoa, that's a biggie. So, and I'm really actually at this point like barely pressing down, and it's nice because you can get like these very calligraphic sorts of marks. Okay, and I'll do one like that and make it smaller. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how the eraser works really just pretty much the same way. You can use the eraser in a brush mode, in a pencil mode, or a block mode. The block mode is like just really extreme, like, well, you know, oh, hello. And brush mode is really just the exact same sort of thing as, you know, but in the opposite direction as we were doing when we were painting, which is really, really nice. So I encourage you to play around with that. So going back to the actual project, let's see here. So I don't know, I guess I would just, you know, start off with, you know, a good rule to always work with is to start off generally and then to work up to specifics. I'm on the wrong, here I go, I'm on the wrong on the wrong layer. Start off really generally and then work up. So Liz showed you her example, but you don't necessarily have to work that way. Just work in some method that you feel is comfortable. And I would definitely encourage you to do what is comfortable, what feels right. That's too light. And when I've done stuff like this before, I'm gonna have a hard time talking now, because oh boy, because when I start working, then I can't do both things at the same time. I like to erase as much as I like to draw, so you guys are gonna have to figure out what works best for you. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. Okay. Something that I just saw on one of the TED Talks, which I should probably share with you guys, is that there's huge research that shows that doodling is a very good way to incorporate information. So a lot of people think that doodling is really a waste of time, but it's actually been shown to be extremely helpful to really integrate information. Integrate information while you're listening and thinking. Okay, so I'm going to work on this raw and then I'll come back because we're taking up a lot of video time. Okay, cut.